Okay, so the next approach is the humanistic perspective. It is reading pages 490 to 493. It's going to look at Abraham Maslow, Carl Rogers. It's going to talk about assessing oneself using the humanistic approach, and then it's going to evaluate the approach just as it did with the psychoanalytical approach. Okay, so humanistic perspective, the humanist psychologists focus on the ways of healthy people strive to reach that self-determination and self-realization. All right, so remember, as before, the psychoanalytical perspective was trying to describe why you have the traits you do. Humanistic perspective does that as well. Why do you have the personality you do? By the 1960s, psychologists became very discontent with Freud's negative psychoanalytical approach. Sexual urges. They also became very discontent with the behaviorist theory. Rewards, punishments will change people's behaviors. They wanted to focus on people who live healthy lives. So you have Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers are two of the well-known humanist psychologists. Carl Rogers was a therapist, and Abraham Maslow was more of a theorist. So we've seen Abraham Maslow before. He proposed that we as individuals are motivated by our hierarchy of needs. So starting at the bottom, the physiological needs, those are met, we could then be concerned with our safety, and once our safety is met, then we can be concerned with our love and belonging, and once we feel loved and belonging, that raises our self-esteem, our motivation, our thought process, and then we could reach our full potential, which is self-actualization. So a little bit on Maslow here. He studied healthy, creative people, two of which he explored their life and looked at was Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln. He found that both these people were very motivated. They were aware of themselves. They were accepting of others. They were open. They were spontaneous. They were loving, caring, and not concerned so much about what others thought of them. They were both interested in problem solving rather than being very self-centered. They enjoyed few but very extremely deep relationships. They found people are motivated if needs are met. And he believed that this really shapes an individual's personality. Self-actualization, Maslow estimated that only about 1% of the population ever actually reaches self-actualization. He found over and over again when he surveyed people, they were really accepting of themselves, they were spontaneous, they were democratic, they were private, they had really strong ethics, and they were realistic of life. The biggest goal is to reach what we talked about before, is that self-transience is the communication beyond self. So really concerned about, besides just reaching your goal, now saving the world. Carl Rogers agreed much of what Maslow thought. He believed every human is born with the self-actualizing tendencies. So you actually have this little spark of interest within you. And unless our environment harms us, we are capable of growth. As long as we reach that pyramid. Human beings form images of ourselves, which are called our self-concepts. So I have a self-concept. I have an image of what I think myself is. We are driven to fulfill those self-concepts, our self-actualizing tendencies. Our growth can really be promoted by genuineness, accepting, and empathy. So you believe people grow by being genuine. Okay, really like true to who you are. Okay, you're not Miss Gavin here and then at home you're a total, maybe a jerk. I'm really caring, an individual person, and I'm really being truthful to who I am. I have empathy, which is sharing and mirroring our feelings. I listen and care for others. I really try and get concerned about what others are feeling. Okay, you don't maybe listen about what others are feeling and then blurt it out behind people's back. And then they say that you really grow by being accepting, what he believes is having unconditional positive regard. Even though maybe somebody did something terrible to you, you're extremely accepting of all humans. So let's talk about this unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regard is something that most therapists really have to learn how to have. Fully acceptance and love of one another, regardless of their behavior, regardless if somebody came and did something really bad and you heard about it. You really have to be genuine with them, accepting of them, and have empathy. Because people do make mistakes. Having unconditional positive regard for most human race, he believes, is important. So how do you test the humanistic approach? Okay, Humanistic psychologists sometimes assessed personality by asking people to fill out questionnaires about how they evaluate themselves. It is subjective. You are stating how you think you are feeling. They ask people to describe two different things. Describe yourself and describe what you'd like to be. Okay? Your perceived self. All right, describe yourself. And then your ideal self. All right, what you hope to be in the future. What they found out was if you wrote the same things from a humanistic perspective, a fully functioning self-actualized person finds that who they are and what they want to be are equal. So if you ask me who I am, I'm a teacher, I'm confident, but who I want to be, I have all these other things. I'm not so much maybe reaching that self-actualization at this point in time. Rogers suggests that our self-concept is negative if we fall short of our ideal self and we're dissatisfied and unhappy. It follows that parents and teachers and friends should help us know and accept and be true to who we really are. Okay, so that's the way that they assess it. Let's evaluate the humanistic perspective. The good, the humanistic psychology has a pervasive impact on counseling, education, child rearing, and management. It really teaches self-esteem. It allows people to really look at their goals, reflect on their life, and really kind of think about where they're at in their place. Bad, concepts in humanistic psychology are so vague and subjective. Most people are kind of stating how they feel, so it lacks science. Some view these theories over-optimistic and ignore the nature of human evil. What if people just are born evil? Are people born evil? Do they have tendencies of being evil? Some argue that the humanistic view leads to self-indulgence and narcissism and self-centered. Oh, I'm the greatest, I'm reaching all my goal. Okay, and then it dwells on the future instead of the past, and some people believe, like Freud, that we really need to dwell on the past. So kind of evaluating this, you really should know the two people that are famous for this theory, Abraham Maslow and Carl Rogers. Abraham Maslow, the hierarchy of needs, and Carl Rogers, unconditional positive regard. You should understand how they assess it, okay, and then evaluating it. Is it good? Is it bad?